The path to semen retention is one that can make you more spiritual. It can amplify your spiritual path, potentially. But it's not the semen retention itself inherently makes you more spiritual. It's about how you build and redirect the energy. The things you're focusing on, where your awareness lies, that determines the redirection of your energy and how it's going to be amplified. For most guys, their energy is simply stuck in the lower centers. Even when they're doing retention, they don't know how to rise the energy through the body, how to transmute it, how to change the form of the energy. And they always get stuck in this battle of battling their impulses, forcing it down for a while, and then it overpowering them and caving back into that, versus being able to work consciously with that energy to dramatically amplify your life and your spiritual path. So grab your grounding mat, grab your Palo Santo. We're going deep down a rabbit hole in this one. I only know how to do it deep, guys. So here we go. I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you get the free ejaculation control guide through the link in the video description. What does it mean to be spiritual? Before I go deep into this video, we need to define, first of all, what does it even mean? What is spiritual? What is spirit? What does that actually mean? And this, in my opinion, is one of the most maybe overused terms in the modern world that often lacks clarity around what is a spiritual path. What are you actually trying to accomplish with this? What does it even mean? I sense that we all understand this on some level, like what this truly means to us, but I just want to really clarify what I'm talking about here. So first of all, a lot of people say that Qi, the energy, like Qigong is a spiritual practice. I just want to like really break it down here. So they say like, oh yeah, my spiritual path is like I'm feeling energy and I'm like, I'm vibing, man. I'm connected with the universe, the life force, and like, that's cool. But that's still not it. Just cultivating energy, just having like an energetic cultivation practice doesn't inherently make you spiritual, because to me, it's actually quite a mechanical thing. Qi, the life force, yes, it's alive, it's conscious, but to cultivate it, it can actually be a fairly mechanical process. You don't have to be a virtuous person. I think a good example of this, maybe it's kind of cliche, is like, look at Darth Vader. We have a pop culture fantasy example here. Darth Vader was a Qigong master. Dude could fucking move some life force. Dude could move some Qi, but he had some issues, didn't he? He had a big anger problem. He had some jealousy problems. And I don't think most people would have Darth Vader as like a spiritual model, but the dude was a master of working with the life force. It's above even that. It's above even like energetic cultivation, which is of course something I practice every day. And it's a huge component of the sexual kung fu system. And the spiritual path is about consciousness. It's about awareness. And okay, well, duh, obviously, but we'll break it down further, okay? This is about pure consciousness, because it's really the level of consciousness that we're operating at. And when I'm talking about this pure consciousness, I mean pure, undiluted, unimpressioned, uncontaminated, unconditioned awareness. And how many people have this? I don't know anyone. I don't claim to have it myself, but I know people who are well in the process of attaining this, because to come into this world, we are conditioned with thought forms. We're conditioned with belief systems, with a lot of baggage, honestly, a lot of dogma and all these things. And to be stuck in those patterns, in my opinion, is not pure consciousness. It's not freedom. It's simply having a filter, having a program that your mind is repeating over and over. And sure, some of these programs can be more liberating and make you feel better than others. Some people have really fucking negative programs that they're running. But to me, the spiritual path is about being on a consciousness path where your consciousness experiences absolute freedom, absolute uniqueness of thought, not thought that is imprisoned by programming, because programming often creates a prison for yourself. Negative belief systems, traumas you've experienced, things that your parents told you, that religion told you, society told you, that politicians tell you, that kind of wear you down and tear you down. These are the things we want to let go of. When people talk about enlightenment, I think this is what it is. It's releasing all these filters and all these things. It's not about gaining something new. It's about releasing. That's what it is. This return to source is a releasing from the separation you have to in the first place. And of course, part of this consciousness, I feel, is something that's often talked about in spiritual paths and religions, is this concept of unconditional love, this deep underlying love. And I think that there is a strong link with that purity of consciousness and a sense of unconditional love. But even this is something, again, that's greatly misunderstood, because here's the thing. We live in polarized bodies. We live in the physical world, which is literally created by polarity, positive, negative charge, yin and yang. And when people think of love, it's often a romantic thing. It's often an attachment sort of thing. It's conditional. It's like, yeah, I really, really love this person, but then they did this thing, oh, fuck them, I fucking hate them. So it's like that extreme swing of polarity. And true unconditional love is a better understanding for me now is it's a neutrality. It's an acceptance. It's a pure acceptance. The Taoists refer to this as yuan qi, depending on your translation, but understanding from some of my alchemical teachers, this concept of yuan qi, which is unconditioned qi, it's neutral. It's a pure acceptance of all things. And it's, we could say, a pure support of all processes, even the ones that are appearing as negative to you. So it's an embracing of all that is. It's embracing of all of creation. That's what I'm talking about when I say unconditional love. So through this thought, this purity of thought, this uncontaminated flow of thought, and this deep, pure consciousness, through this comes will, like willpower, your will. And I'm going to be talking about this a lot throughout this video. So this, kind of framing it here. So your will is, it's an action. It's an act of creation. You're willing things to happen. It's a momentum. We think of it as momentum and manifestation power. It's your will. And the more that you are on a level of this uncontaminated pureness. So I'm talking about like a deeply spiritual level. That's what I'm talking about. This deeply uncontaminated, very free state of consciousness. The more that you're able to connect to that, the stronger your will becomes. The stronger your ability to create becomes. A lot of this programming, this programmed thought forms, it's wearing you down. It's this baggage you're holding on to. Again, it's the beliefs of your parents, your siblings, your friends, your teachers, the world in general, social media, that's what these things come from. And a lot of this, it's like wearing this backpack full of bricks, and you're trying to like run a marathon. You're like, fuck, why is it so hard to get there? Because it's wearing down your will, because the information is not serving you. So basically, this first part of this video, I'm kind of just talking about like, what is the spiritual path? In my opinion, the spiritual path is simply reconnecting to source. And what that actually means is releasing all of the programming, releasing all this polarized programming, and function from a space of pure potential and pure love, pure acceptance. And I know it's easy to say these things, but have I mastered this? No. But I'm working on it. So it's like this reconnection to source, but also bringing that back into here, bringing that source energy into this physical world, into this fucked up insanity the planet Earth is, bringing it here into our bodies, into our operating system as we're interacting. And so we're bringing, sounds super woo-woo, but you're literally bringing heaven to earth, and you are anchoring that into the world around you. And that is how you're functioning. That is where you're creating from. That's powerful. So instead of just stumbling around in the dark, like, oh no, I need another Bud Light. I don't want to think about things. I don't want to figure things out. I just want to get drunk on the weekends. Like, there's that. And that's fine. If that's your experience of life, fantastic. But for me, it's this unlocking my highest creative potential and really making an amazing reality for myself, and maybe, contributing something to the world and others. Because I really feel that our lives here in the physical world, it's another huge cliche to say that this is a simulation, but it's like playing a video game. I loved video games when I was a kid because you get to play with all these different parameters, also in a state of like detachment. You don't have to get too pulled into the game. So this physical world, we've all gotten really pulled into it. It's the most intense video game. It's like the ultimate VR experience. So like, there's no excuses to be bored because holy shit, we're playing the most advanced video game that I've ever seen. But here's the thing. Who's behind that video game controller? Who's driving this suit that you're functioning in? Is it some drunk 18-year-old, or is it a sage? You know what I mean? And that greatly determines your experience. So at this point, you may be asking yourself, Jonathan, what the hell does any of this have to do with semen retention? This is a frame that I need to put in so you understand when I talk about semen retention, how this plays into what my view of spirituality is, the spiritual path. It's not about worshiping anything. It's not about putting myself down here and like, oh, I bow down to this guru, this deity, blah, blah, blah. There's respect and admiration for the universal life force. For me, there's respect and admiration, the feeling that I am a part of this organism. I'm like a cell in this cosmic organism, so there is a love and an understanding, but it's not a pyramidal structure that I follow in my spiritual path. It's something else. So now we'll break it down to the semen retention, okay? Let's talk about Jing, Qi, and Shen. I've studied a lot of different philosophies. I've studied a lot of different spiritual paths, from the most fucking out there, woo-woo, new age stuff to more traditional, more grounded spiritual paths, indigenous shamanism, all kinds of shit that I've dove into and played with and experimented with. My life and my philosophy and the things I share are definitely a composite of all I've learned. I don't have a title. I'm not like, I am this or I am that. I'm a Buddhist. I'm a fucking mystical Christian. I'm a Taoist even, you know what I mean? But I will say that what I have vibed with the most from my years of, my spiritual journey, my path of progression has been the Taoist philosophy and the Taoist practices. To me, it brings a lot more empowerment and a lot more like groundedness and really an ability to just enjoy myself in every moment and not think that I'm wrong for just being in the physical plane in the first place. That I've done something terrible in a past life and I'm here because I reincarnated as a punishment, or the original sin, all this, religious baggage, in my opinion. So a lot of what I'm sharing kind of comes from the Taoist cosmological model, we could say. So Jing. Jing correlates very much to your semen, because your semen, to create sperm, release sperm and then make more sperm, that consumes your Jing. J-I-N-G. Jing is physical essence. Think of it as a fuel. It is like the raw materials you have to create your physical body and to experience vitality, to build things with. It's like these raw materials that you're building things with. It's like you can think about every day you're recreating your body through cellular reproduction. You're expending energy, all these things. It's like you can think of it as like you're building houses every day, and like you have this much wood, you have this much stone, concrete. These are the materials you have to keep building your house and repairing it every day, just to function. So that's your Jing. It's your raw supplies. And you're born with a certain amount of it. You're born with quite a bit of it. It varies based on how much your parents gave you and cosmic factors, astrology, all kinds of things. But you're born with a certain amount of Jing. You're born with a certain amount of resources. And it's up to you what to do with it. It's up to you what you're going to build and how you're going to spend it. And the problem is we're not really aware of this. We just spend it recklessly. Some common ways that we spend our Jing are excessive action. Overworking, over-exercising could be a way, but living unhealthy, stress, poor diet, that takes a toll on your system because it has to regulate itself. All these things tax your Jing. In the modern world, the biggest toll on a man's Jing is over-ejaculating, because the semen is the most concentrated essence of your body. Your body's literally like, we have to create another human body with this thing. Like, this is the propagation of the species. It's real important, bro. So you gotta keep all these materials going. So it's gonna pull all of its materials to constantly be making sperm when you're constantly ejaculating. And when you're ejaculating more than you're able to replenish, you're just throwing your life force down the drain. You age quickly, hormones are fucked, all these kinds of things. But this is also, there is a strong connection with your Jing and your willpower. The more Jing you have, the stronger your will is, the stronger your ability to create, to have a strong center of gravity within yourself. Like, no, this is who I am, this is my identity, this is where I'm going, this is what I believe is right, and I'm going to do this shit. When your will is weak, when your Jing is weak, your will is often weak, and you're more likely to be like, oh, well, this person's saying this, so that means I should do that, or, oh, well, I heard this in the news, I better be afraid of this. And we're seeing a lot of this in the world where people are just getting locked into these fucking fear-based belief systems and doing all kinds of weird shit just because they were told to. You know what I mean? And that's an indication of weak will, low Jing. The temptation of ejaculation is giving your will away. The more you spend this Jing, the more you spend your semen, the more your willpower, your vitality, and your ability to create decreases. You lose your spark. You lose your gravity, we could say, of like to be able to kind of hold your own and create the path you want to in your life. All these external forces just overwhelm you, and you go numb, you go unconscious. You're not able to create your own path for yourself. So when there's the sexual impulse, which has been conditioned into us, we've been conditioned to be impulsive ejaculators, to experience something that sexually stimulates us, and then to therefore the next step we take be to ejaculate this urge out of our body. And that is essentially the castration of man. It's the complete destruction of a man's willpower, the complete destruction of his spiritual path as well, which we'll come to here momentarily. So sexuality and sexual desire, there's nothing inherently wrong with these things. In my opinion, sex is very sacred. The path of sexual kung fu is learning how to have sex without ejaculating, at least without ejaculating all the time, because sex is a beautiful healing act, in my opinion, if you're doing it properly. It can also be very destructive. It's the perversion of sexuality. It's the distortion of sexuality that makes it become destructive. So first of all, how do you know if your sexual connection is destructive or if it's empowering and healing to you? Well, how do you feel after however you're expressing your sexuality? How do you feel the rest of the day? Do you feel like lit up, charged, open, just like inspired, creative, energized? Or do you feel like you've lost something? Do you feel empty, depleted, deflated? Do you do other things to try to just like fill yourself up, like consuming junk food, taking drugs, scrolling social media. If that's the case, then you have a distorted version of sexuality and it's destructive. So once again, the spiritual path is about reconnecting yourself to source, to elevating your consciousness, or more accurate is to enlighten your consciousness, to lighten by releasing, by letting go of the constrictions, letting go of all these programs and all this baggage you're carrying around, to have a pure, uncontaminated flow of thought and strong will. In this world of manipulation, in this world of planet Earth 2024, it takes tremendous will to break through this control system matrix that is put in place on planet Earth. In some ways, this world we live in is an invisible prison. It's a prison of thought forms. It's a prison of ideologies and beliefs that people get stuck in, unempowering beliefs. There's not enough of this, or I'm supposed to hate all these people. All these terrible things are happening. I'm supposed to be afraid that I'm gonna die at any moment. All these things, all this bullshit that is just literally keeping people in just a state of animalistic survival. And you know what, when you're in that state of survival, when you're worried about viruses and wars and destruction of the economy and blah, 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 you literally are in a state of fight or flight every day. You're not able to think clearly. You have zero willpower, and every day is just like, how do I survive? How do I survive? Which is usually just seeking comfort, hacking our most primal nature. And what that looks like for most people is accumulating things, accumulating drugs, accumulating food, accumulating unfulfilling sex, porn addiction, ejaculation, all these things. And it doesn't help that a lot of religions and spiritual paths themselves are actually still part of this pyramidal control system. Whenever something's a pyramidal structure, there's this person at the top and you're down here. It's a dark side influence. It's an unempowering scheme. There doesn't need to be anything between you and the life force, because you are of the life force. You are an expression of the life force. You are an expression of the original thought that created this whole insane chaos that the universe is. You are that. So anyone tells you like you need to be beneath this person or this ideology, blah, 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 it's bullshit. It's a slave system, and you're never going to reconnect to source following that. In my opinion, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you like, this is my path and this is what works for me. Getting into an even more practical level here. Let's talk about alchemy, because I've trained in Taoist alchemy for 10 years now, and it's led to incredible transformation of my life, my external life, my belief systems, my ability to manifest the things I've created in my life, and of course, my consciousness in my spiritual path. So alchemy, Neidan, as the Taoist system is, and of course Qigong incorporates this as well, and this is as well part of like tantric systems, some yogic systems, though a lot of this information is completely removed from kind of the modern strip mall yoga classes that are prevalent in the modern world. The alchemical path, the path of cultivation, uses the sexual energy, uses your jing as a fuel to build your energy body, to build your spiritual awareness. And it uses this combustion effect of the sexual energy to amplify, to speed up the process of opening up the channel system, clearing the obstructions, which means releasing these distorted thought forms, belief systems, releasing the bullshit, and accelerating this process of what we could say is enlightenment, or as Taoists refer to as immortality. So basically, a lot of men don't get very far on semen retention. Like a lot of men ask me, does semen retention make you more spiritual? And the answer is not necessarily. If you're not a spiritual person, it's unlikely that semen retention is magically going to make you spiritual, unless your lack of spiritual awareness simply comes from being excessively depleted and you just needed like more of a charge to like feel alive again and be like, oh shit, there's this whole other world out there. Because with semen retention, it's all about your focus and where the energy lies, where it's primarily functioning in your body, because that is what process is going to be amplified. Of course, the body's made of various energy centers. Different areas of the body correlate to different experiences of consciousness, different experiences of how we interact with the world, how we interact with ourselves, kind of the cliche of the chakra system, which I think has been grossly misunderstood in modern times. We often think of the lower body being connected to our more base level experiences, our more animalistic, just survival, sex, willpower, accumulating things, and as we come, it's more like love, connection, expression, spiritual connection, divinity. So the spectrum of experience. And coming back to this, in my path, in my opinion, it's not that any of these are better than the other. Like, here's the thing. My path is about embracing all things, because whenever you're like, well, this is what's right and spiritual and this is what's wrong, it's all created equally. You know what I mean? It's all it's part of this, we could say, this divine universal creation that is. And so to say this is right and this is wrong is still functioning that polarized programming. So it's about embracing everything and harmonizing it. But with that, understanding that when you're practicing retention with no cultivation skill, you're just refraining from ejaculating, what happens is you build up a lot of energy in your lower body. You build up a lot in your balls and your pelvic floor. Some of it may naturally rise up to the dantian, though for most people it doesn't. Rise up into the kidneys often and improve your vitality and your sex drive, and it kind of gets stuck down here, gets stuck around the diaphragm. So what happens to a lot of guys doing semen retention without skill is they just get really fucking horny. It kind of gets stuck and stagnant in the liver area, which creates like anger, frustration, and just this stagnance, a lot of tension in the diaphragm, excessive sympathetic nervous system activation, just feeling like jittery, like you're on caffeine and you're waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, not being able to sleep, things like that. This is a sign that your sexual energy is stuck. And the path of alchemy is about transforming, changing the form of that sexual energy to build the whole energy body, not just strengthen what's happening down here. Because when this is overcharged, you just wants to release and ejaculate. So in the sexual kung fu, we work with the microcosmic orbit. There's other pathways we work with, but the main one is the microcosmic orbit because it creates the connection between your whole energy system. You could say it connects all the chakras. And so bringing the energy up so the sexual energy can interact with your heart center, it brings a sense of love and connections, expansion. And you're not just about drugs, sex, and rock and roll. You're about, oh, how can I like connect with people in the world? How can I like help those who are in need? How can I like build family, build community? So you're transforming this raw sexual energy into something else, something more expansive, something more light and nice. And then a big part of this as well is bringing the sexual energy up into the upper energy center, the Niwan, the pineal gland, so that this jing crystallizes and causes various secretions in the upper glands. Various hormones are released. I mean, I experience this as like, I've had DMT-like trips when having tantric sex, when having, hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, whatever, tantric sex sessions where all of a sudden I'm in hyperspace, I'm in another dimension. It's crazy. And I've also experienced this spontaneously through my alchemical practices when I'm doing various, practices to light up the brain. I've straight up gone into psychedelic altered states that were more intense than any drug I've taken. So this is what happens. And so to do this, you need fuel. And what a lot of people do is they take drugs. They take plant medicines because, yeah, it does naturally energize these centers. But what this does is it actually weakens your will. It weakens your ability to do the work that's required to create this for yourself. And these medicines also, if you overuse them, they tend to burn up your jing. They burn up your kidney energy, your physical essence, to accelerate that jing, qi, shen. Qi is the intermediary energy. Shen is your consciousness, your spirit, your will, as I've been talking about. It tends to speed up that process, leaving you a bit depleted. Like the only times I experimented with psychedelics since I began my cultivation process, I very much noticed that it just completely tanked my kidney energy. I felt terrible. And I was like, why the fuck would I ever do this again? I don't do drugs anymore. I don't need them because this stuff is more powerful, but it's not easy. This is not for the lazy, straight up. But here's the thing, once again, you practice semen retention, you're going against this impulsive slave level programming to just ejaculate all the time. You're building up the will to do this type of practice, to live this type of lifestyle. And when you start to attain that direct connection to source, because ultimately this is what it's about. The highest spiritual teachings you'll get will not come from a teacher. They will not come from a book. It will come from you eventually connecting to source, eventually connected to your higher self, whatever like vocabulary words you want to put behind it. That is the true path of spiritual development. And teachers and guides can only point the way. They can give you some methods that will help you to get there. But ultimately it's you who do the work. It's you who create that bridge to connect back to the deepest level of your being, which is source. It's within yourself. It's not out here. It's not up in heaven. It's within yourself. So training is required to what the Taoists call settle the jing, because when you practice retention, you may notice like your impulses are amped up, your sexual desire is amped up, and that's not a bad thing. It's just you got to be able to manage it. You've got to put it into productive things. You also need to practice meditation to settle your energy, to keep it calm and still, because otherwise you feel extremely agitated all the time, especially if you're having sexual kung fu sex, non-ejaculatory sex. Your energy is going to want, your jing's trying to like just explode all over the place. You got to calm it, settle it with meditation. So basically, stop ejaculating all the time, learn to move that sexual energy through your body, and think about the ways that you are programmed. It doesn't matter what like group you fit in culturally, what your interests are. Everyone's programmed. And to me, the spiritual path is the path of individuality. It's about finding your individual path. This is what the Taoism is all about. This is the Tao, is your individual path. There's the overall Tao. There's the great cosmic universal organism that we're all part of, this cycle of creation and process and everything that is. but it's your individual microcosmic Tao, we could say, which is your own unique path of unfoldment. And someone else's path is not your path. You must forge your own. Like, I don't want to be a follower. I don't want to do what someone else is doing. I want to create my own thing. I want to create a new, unique experience. And for me, when I began practicing semen retention, this process really skyrocketed for me. And I think it will for you too if you have, have the tools to keep yourself balanced throughout, because it's about cultivation. Semen retention, not ejaculating, at least not ejaculating frequently, is just one part of the picture. But it's not everything. It's not going to do everything for you. You have to do the cultivation practice. You have to meditate. You have to do Qigong. You have to open up the energy channels and circulate this energy and be like living a virtuous lifestyle, like living with intentionality. Know what the hell you're doing in your life. Where the hell are you going? Because if you're just stumbling around the dark without a goal, without a destination in mind, like you're just going to spend your whole life spinning in loops. But when you have a purpose, you have a mission, you have this will to create from your unpolluted, undiluted, pure, unique essence, you're gonna do some pretty badass things. Thanks for joining me today. It's been an interesting one. I know I threw a lot out there. If you have any questions about, you want me to go deeper into specific aspects of what I explained today, let me know in the comments below. And best wishes, my friend. Wishing you the best on your journey. Got a lot of resources on my channel. The Qigong playlist will help you have some sort of daily practice that will help you be going in this direction. Make sure you hit subscribe, support the channel. Have a great day.